All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Being Different. Today, it is just me, and I want to talk about a show that my husband and I have been watching. It's called Landman. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It is so good. Has Billy Bob Thornton, Michelle Randolph, what's that guy? John Hamm, Demi Moore, a ton of like huge stars in it. But it was, I think, directed and produced or written something by Taylor Sheridan, the guy who did Yellowstone. And it's just a very entertaining show. It's the premise is about how oil actually is like drilled out of the ground. And it has a lot of like subplots about this landman's life, and it also has, the oil guy who's the big money man, but he's the one taking all the risks, drilling the oil out of the ground and stuff. But the point that I picked up on, Taylor Sheridan, the guy who created the show, I think has caught a lot of flack in Hollywood because he's more conservative, but also his shows have really been successful with Americans, and my guess would be, like, more rural America, conservative America, and there is an interesting point that he makes in the Landman show that I think is kind of brilliant, and he doesn't have the characters, like, saying anything, but it's the way that the characters are written and how they act that I think for women and wives is really interesting and really important to cue in on. When I did work with Suzanne Venker. She did some, like, marriage coaching stuff with me. She talked to me over and over and over again about how women that come out of, like, the workforce, especially where they're in a man's industry and, like, high power, like, type A people specifically, have to train themselves to be feminine again with their husbands. And so she would talk about things like, she'd be like, Liz, wear like skirts and dresses and more feminine clothing. Like guys love that kind of stuff. And I always just thought like it's kind of silly. No, I didn't like discard what she was saying. I was listening to what she was saying. But the main thing that she harped on, and it was at the time, I just thought it was so stupid, was she would make me practice saying things with a more feminine tone. And she would say it wasn't necessarily what I was saying to Luke was bad. Like the words weren't bad per se, but the way that I was saying them, my delivery and my tone, was very masculine and hard, and I guess not how most women used to speak? I don't know, I wasn't around back then, but I feel like women did used to be were more feminine, and they weren't in boardrooms and with males all the time, so they probably didn't speak like males. But I know for me, when I came out of my job, and especially in my industry, like, my industry is rough. It's so high stress because when people are buying houses, like, it's the most expensive purchase of your life. Uh, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things you can't control, like appraisals and money moving around and stuff like that. And so when we would speak in a male dominated industry like that, there was just a ton of cussing and there was like not a lot of fluff. And we just sounded like men, like almost like men on a construction site or something. Like that's just how we talked in the job. And so when you talk that way in your job, like it bleeds into your personal life. And with Luke, he would come home and, I'd be exhausted from work and the kids. And he would say something like, "How was your day?" And I'd just be like, "Fine." And he'd be like, "Try that again." And it would annoy me when he would say, like, "Try that again," because he wasn't saying that it was wrong for me to say fine, but, like, I was really short. I was kind of rude in the way that I said it. And so then mockingly, what I would do is I would respond with, "Fine," like I'm some, like, ditzy, stupid cheerleader or something. And he'd be like, "Much better." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I sound retarded." Like, I can't believe that that's how he wants me to sound when I'm talking to him when he gets home from work. But Suzanne, like, said to me over and over again, he doesn't wanna come home and feel like he's in a fight at work with his wife. He wants to come home and he wants it to be, like, happy and stress-free and a joyful place. And she was like, "You don't have to pretend that your day was perfect or that it was easy because when you're raising toddlers, you were exhausted and it's not perfect and it's not easy and it's hard." But she was like, "You can control the tone of your voice and the way that you speak to him." So we would, like, do these little role plays and I would practice, like, sounding nicer when I would say things. And it just kinda made me aware of how manly I had become in my job, in the way that I spoke, and how she was correct. That's not, like, becoming of a wife when your husband comes home and he's exhausted. And, like, if he wanted to go hang out with the dudes, he could go to the bar and be talked to dudes like they talk. When he comes home, that's not how he wants to hear his wife speaking. So, going back to Taylor Sheridan and Landman, Billy Bob Thornton is, like, in this most stressful position because he doesn't own the company, but he's making all these huge decisions. He's, like, the president of the company, and there's people, like, getting blown up because they're doing super, like, hard work. Drilling wells for oil is no joke. So, they cast his wife and his daughter. Oh, Allie Larder, I think that's the wife's name. She is gorgeous, like smoke show. She's probably, I have no idea, maybe 50, 55, something like that. And then the daughter is Miss Michelle Randolph, and she is a 10, like one of the hottest actresses, I think, in my opinion, in Hollywood right now. And they are both very like ditzy and spunky and kind of life of the party characters. And he always has them dressed, like, extremely provocatively. They're always working out. They are very, very concerned about their appearance. They always, have on makeup and dresses and stuff like that. And so, at first, I was, like, super annoyed by the characters, like, "Oh my god, like, this is just such a dude thing to do, to have, just girls with, like, huge fake tits and all the makeup, and they seem kinda dumb, and all they wanna do is shop and stuff like that." But as the characters develop, you can see that he's trying to show, like, in his opinion or view, I guess, the extreme of what, like, he maybe wishes feminism would swing back to, like, or how feminism has, like, ruined women, taken the femininity away from women and made them more masculine actually, which is an interesting thought, but it's what happened. And, I think it's what a lot of guys, like, their fantasy of what, like, a wife would be like. They won't say that. They can never say that. Feminists have made it so that a guy can never say something like that. But if you ask the guys that have watched the show, every single one of them is like, "Oh, yeah, she's a smoke show. She's hot." And they like those characters. And I think it's not just the fact that they're hot. I think it's also that they let the man be in a traditional man's role, which is the provider role, and they take care of the house. Like, one big part of the show is that the wife wants every dinner to be an experience. So she has different themes for dinner. Like, one night is baseball night, and they're all dressed up in, like, different baseball jerseys, and she has hot dogs and nachos and, everything that you would get at a baseball game. And then another night is, like, pirate night. She's dressed up as one of those, like, skanky, like, I don't know, I guess prostitute, I don't know, um, with, like, the scarf wrapped around her head and, like, the corset pushing her boobs up, and the guys all have on, like, eye patches and stuff, and it it's funny, like, it's very funny. But he's making a point that, like, she is putting a ton of effort into dinner and making dinner fun and joyful, and the food is good, and I just think that's pretty brilliant. Like, that is a good way to show these crazy woke leftists that have taken things so far to the left in Hollywood. This is actually what a lot of men in America want. They want a wife that will cook them dinner and be excited to see them when they get home from work and be happy and put effort into things that are going on in the house. Another part that I think is super interesting that I had never really thought of was the wife, um, she is very interested in taking care of her kids, like her daughter, like she takes her to all the cheerleading practices and all that kind of stuff, but they volunteer together. So they go to this nursing home and they do all these fun things to like make the old people's lives better. Like they take them to casinos and they get them a hooker, like or a stripper to come like dance for them. They just do all this like funny stuff. But I think the point, like the extreme point that he was trying to make there is that they are like caring and nurturing for the children and the old people, kind of how things used to be back in society, like more of a traditional woman's role. And he makes it just as extreme as like the crazy dinners with the themes and stuff like that. But it's kind of driving home a point of like men really used to appreciate these qualities in women and how far we've gone away from that. And I couldn't help but think like it doesn't show these kids in the show when they were young or anything like that, but you can just tell that the character, his wife, probably wouldn't have put her kids in daycare because she's just like a mom that's so into her kids' lives and into having them be a part of her life. Like she had her daughter at the nursing home with her every single time, like helping with the old people and stuff like that, like teaching them to care for other people. Anyways, it was just interesting to think about it from a male perspective. Um, One thing that I don't love, and I do love all that other stuff. Like in the beginning, I was so annoyed by it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, I actually think that he's making a really good point. It's in a funny way and in an extreme way, but he's making a point about how things have shifted so far from how they used to be. But so these characters are very sexualized. Like they are wearing extremely provocative clothing, like the most low cut dresses, tight, see through, like ways that you wouldn't really want your daughter to dress, in my opinion. Like if Charlie came home wearing the outfits that Michelle Randolph is wearing, I'd be like, oh, hell no, you're going upstairs to change right now. And Luke would too. Like he would not let her dress that way. But I think the deeper point is that he is trying to show them more in a feminine way, like Suzanne Venker was trying to explain to me, like, wear girly clothing, like dresses and stuff like that. Like, you don't always have to be in a boardroom suit or in Lululemon sweatpants. Like, there's feminine ways to dress that are cute and easy, and you do have to put effort into it. But with these characters, I appreciate the point that he's trying to make about, like, they are trying to look or the wife is trying to look good for her husband, like, she still wants to be sexy for him, and she is really trying to take care of her body, and I think all that is great, like, it's good to try to remain attractive for your husband and to be healthy and work out and all of that. What I don't like, and this is something that I think men in America don't realize the pressure that is being put on women is I mean, I have no idea how old this actress is. She's probably in her 50s. Heck, she might even be 60, I don't know, but she's clearly had, like, a ton of work done. Plastic surgery, Botox, you name it. Like, you can tell that she's had all that stuff done. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that stuff. I think if you wanna do that, whatever. But when everybody is doing that, it's putting pressure on women as a whole to look younger than they actually are, which bothers me. Like, obviously, you wanna look good, but I don't think that if you're 50, like, your goal should be to look 20. I think, like, it's good to accept your age and your role in life and where you are. But the deeper point is that now that we have Instagram and social media and porn, men have this image of what women should look like in their heads that you may be able to keep up when you're young and your metabolism's still really good and you don't have kids yet. But once you like start having kids and you become a mom and you're aging and you're not sleeping and you don't have as much time to work out as you did before and stuff like that, it's very unrealistic to come home and expect your wife to look like a porn star when she has little kids. Like, it's just not, I don't think that's healthy for one, but it also is nearly impossible for most people that have just had kids. Like, even if you can get your body to quote unquote snap back, bounce back, which I've talked about that a lot on here before, like the expectation of having your hair highlighted perfectly and extensions and full makeup and a full outfit while you're taking care of 3 or 4 little kids, like, it's just not realistic. Like, you're not gonna look that way if you're taking care of a house and taking care of kids. Not saying not to try, like, I think I could try way harder than wearing sweats and no makeup as much as I do. I could definitely put a little more effort into it, but I also don't think I should look like I am a Kardashian with a glam squad that spent 3 hours getting me ready every morning. And I feel like with those characters, he's kind of like implying that women should be looking more like that to come across as feminine. And I don't like that at all. I think a lot of moms right now are struggling with, we feel like we have to be like the hot moms or the MILFs because we follow these Instagram moms. And hey, if you look great, I'm happy for you. I'm not like dogging that. But also, we have to realize like they all have filters. A lot of them are putting a lot of time and money into the plastic surgery and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, for one, if that's healthy to be showing our daughters and our sons that like that should be one of the top priorities in life. But two, it's also just not accepting that aging is a privilege. And as you age in life, your role changes. So, like, when you're trying to get a husband when you're in your 20s, obviously showing that you are fit and attractive, like that's how God kind of created it to be. You signs of fertility show, like, your cheeks are flushed and hip ratios and stuff like that. And then, like, when you're a grandmother, you're not trying to reproduce anymore or find a new husband typically. So, like, why do you have to look like that? And why do you have to spend so much money and so much time on that? I think you want to look your best. And I think you want to be healthy so that you can live a good lifestyle and take care of your grandkids and all of that. But I just don't know that like looking like a porn star when you're 60 should be the goal. And that's kind of what his show is like implying. So found that all to be very interesting. Another thing that I really, really, really liked in the show was it has a super controversial scene where the daughter goes to college. Like the mom takes her to be dropped off at college and she's going into her dorm and meeting her new roommate for the first time. And the new roommate is I'm going to try to be politically correct. Blanking. It's like a LGBTQ, a they, them, non-binary, I guess is what it's called. And it's clearly a girl that has like a short haircut. She doesn't have any makeup on. She looks kind of butchy. And Michelle Randolph comes in and she has on like the skankiest outfit and her long blonde beautiful hair and she just looks really hot. And she goes in and she's bouncing around and they're introducing themselves and the conversation goes to like the pronouns. Call me they them. And she's like, "What? Like there's not two of you. That's incorrect English." Like that's how it goes. You should watch the clip. Actually, I'll put the clip in here. And it is a tense moment, and the they them person is like harping on the pronouns, like kind of won't let it go, and then is coming across like, here's the rules, this is how things are going to be in the room, I need you to respect my boundaries, like all that kind of stuff. And this is like the very first encounter she's had with this girl, her new roommate. And then Michelle Randolph's character is like kind of put off, like, okay, well, you haven't asked me anything about me or if I have rules or boundaries or anything like that. It's just, you can feel the tension. And it's kind of indicative of, like, I think how the left and right feels about this topic in America right now. Personally, I'm a libertarian, could care less if you want to be a they, them, or whatever, go for it. I could care less. I just don't want to have to go along with it. And I don't want it pushed on my kids. That's my main thing. But, you do you. I don't care. It's up to you how you live your life. And it's up to me how I live my life. I just don't want things to be pushed onto me. And I don't want to push things onto you. But it shows how both people get defensive immediately. And they're not even trying to understand each other or build a relationship or get to know each other. And Michelle Randolph's character runs out and goes to whoever's in charge, I don't know, the dorm person, and was like, I think I'm going to need a new roommate. And she's crying and all this stuff because the they, them person was so mean to her. And she wasn't that mean. It was just like an uncomfortable first meeting. And I assume if you're 18 and it's your first day at college, like, that's not how you want to meet your first roommate. You think they're going to be fun. You're going to have a great time together. Oh, and the they, them person, this is kind of funny, has a ferret, like a pet ferret. And she's like totally put off by that. Like, oh my gosh, how do you like have this rodent in my dorm room? So that's kind of funny. But the person that's in charge of the dorms is like, no, I can't give you a new roommate. So then she's like crying to her mom all about it and stuff. And her mom's, of course, jumping to her defense and, you know, as moms do. The next episode, she goes to her first cheerleading practice because she's on the cheerleading team or cheerleading workout. And it's really difficult. And then she immediately sees that her roommate is the like personal trainer or something like that on the team. Is responsible for like or the sports management or something like that. And obviously they're looking at each other kind of rolling eyes like, oh gosh, now I have to be around you even outside of the room. But Michelle Randolph is struggling through the practice because the workout is so hard. She's having a hard time. And the roommate comes up and does something very nice. They then is like, hey, let me wrap your ankles so that they don't tear or something like that. So she just like extends an olive branch and wraps up her feet and is very kind to her in that moment. And then later, there were, I guess, like high school kids heckling at the practice, and they were, like catcalling the girls kind of, but they were also making fun of the they, them, like derogatory comments. And Michelle Randolph's character goes over to them and basically defends her roommate and tells them like to get lost, to screw off, like leave the person alone. And I thought that was like beautiful writing by Taylor Sheridan because he's acknowledging like these are two very different people with very different viewpoints, very different opinions, come from different backgrounds, obviously. And he's demonstrating that they can still treat each other with respect. They can defend each other, acknowledge that each other are human beings, not just act like these people are so evil and so different from me. I have nothing in common with them. It's like finding common humanity in people. And so after she like tells the kids that were catcalling and heckling like to get lost, they come over, her and her roommate are talking and it basically like have a truce. And it doesn't seem like they're going to be like best friends or anything like that, but like an agreement, like we respect each other. And they talk about their first encounter in the dorm room, and they both kind of like air out their sides of the story a little bit. And then they like agree to like be roommates and try to get along. And so I thought that was really, really good. Like our country needs to go back to that. Our children need to have that modeled for them. Just because someone's different from you doesn't mean that they are bad or evil. We don't know everything about them. They don't know everything about us, but we still need to respect them as people. And we still need to try to love each other and we need to try really hard to understand each other. And definitely stick up for people. Like when that they them was being like made fun of and those people were saying horrendous things to them, like Michelle Randolph's character did the right thing. Like it's something that I would want my children to do. So I think that if you haven't seen this show, you must watch it. It is so good. And there will be parts in it that are so triggering, whether you're left or right or feminist or not feminist or whatever. Like he just strikes so many different nerves in this show. Another very interesting component is the energy sector. I think that like he talks about how our country is so dependent on oil still. And since I was Aggie Con and did my master's on switchgrass, which is for ethanol production, it's a just an alternative form of energy. That part was super interesting to me because he's just giving like straight facts and numbers about how the oil kind of works in our country. And I think that people don't really understand how much we use it and how dependent we are on it. And then now with all this Trump and Venezuela and Greenland stuff happening, it's just very relevant, the timing of all of it. So Taylor Sheridan is a super smart guy, like very smart. And he really has his thumb on the pulse of a lot of like trigger points in our nation right now. And I really admire that he is not afraid to go after um, some of these like hot topics. And he, instead of like shying away from them or making them more PC, he like makes them more in your face to like drive his point home. And I love that. It's like, I don't know. It's entertaining for one. It's good television, but also it just instead of shying away from the hard conversations, he's like approaching them head on. And even though I don't agree with all of his opinions, I would say I really, really like the show and I like what he's doing. So I hope that he keeps making more stuff. I think all of his stuff that he's made has been really good. Like Yellowstone got the most attention, but I think that was probably like one of his worst ones. Like this is so much better Landman in my opinion. And then his historical shows, I think it's 1984. I don't know what the years are, but those are really good. It's really, really good. You should watch them. So my point in all of this episode is, and I talked about this last night at dinner with Luke and with some of our friends. I am going to try to work on my tone, especially when I'm talking to Luke. I don't necessarily have to change the things I'm saying. I'm not trying to change who I am. I can still have the opinions and make the points that I want to make and all of that. But the way that I say it can be delivered in a more feminine manner that is nice. And it's interesting, like even the octave of your voice making it more feminine. I have a very deep voice. And so, like, when I raise it up, it just, in my head, it sounds really dumb, but I think it sounds nicer to him for some reason. I'm sure there's probably some science behind that. I don't know what it is, but I'll look it up. So I'm going to try to work on that because he has said it to me so many times. He always just says, try that again and makes me repeat what I'm saying in a nicer way. So clearly it does matter to him. And like Suzanne told me, like she's coached all these women with marriage stuff and they've all had success when they have changed their tone. And now that I have kids, when Charlie or Max, and even Cooper now, Cooper's doing it too, says something in a real shitty tone to me, it makes me so annoyed. And it's just like a mirror. I'm like, oh my God, they learned that from me. Oh, Jesus. I'm so sorry that I've like taught you guys to speak in this negative tone. So it's something I'm going to work on. And one thing that's so funny with Charlie, my daughter, is that she's a second born child. So I can tell her things till I'm blue in the face, and she just does not care. She is one of those kids that, like, all that she pays attention to is your actions. And, when she gives me the tone, it makes me so angry, but, like, I can just hear myself, like, in her. And now that I know that she's, like, an actions kid, she doesn't care at all what I say, like, nothing's gonna teach her to change her tone to be more respectful or joyful or pleasant to be around her husband if she doesn't see me doing it, modeling it for her. So, anyways, that is all that I have for today. I hope you guys have a great week.